كما قلت وفي كل مرة أكرر إن دماء الأطفال والنساء والشيوخ لا أقول تستصرخكم، بل نحن الذين نحتاج هذه الدماء لكي توقظ فينا روح الثورة، لكي توقظ فينا العناد، لكي توقظ فينا التحدي والسير إلى الأمام.
Palestinian Sabrim Abu Daqqa weeps as she looks at a photo of her daughter who died during an Israeli airstrike on Gaza on Sunday, the Gaza Strip's deadliest day in 15 years.
I had someone the other day in a very passionate argument tell me, but you have to choose a side. I said, between a poor Israeli child getting killed by a terror group and a Palestinian child getting killed by, the state terror of Israel, why should I take a side? Matlab, who made these rules that you should take a side? I was like, if that means that we are these very few thousands in every country, then so be it.
नमस्ते, स्वागत है आपका इंडिया दिस वीक के एक नए एपिसोड में। और एज यूजुअल मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट आमना अंसारी खालिद बेग के साथ।
Hi, this is Khalid Beg. Welcome to yet another episode of India This Week by Amana and Khalid. Today we're joined yet again by counterterrorism expert Mr. Zahack Tanveer on yet another episode of India This Week by Amana and Khalid. Welcome back, Zahack.
Thank you so much for introducing me. Thank you so much. I'll really enjoy this show.
We got a lot of comments in our last two videos, and people, really liked a very different perspective which came up on the Israel-Palestine conflict. And thank you for all those generous comments. And, people said that it was very different to see people talk objectively about it and have 5 Muslim panelists with a Hindu panelist, and speak about the issue rationally, but with empathy as well. So thanks a lot. We do enjoy most of the comments that came in. And hence the endeavor again is to try to dig deeper into rationality, into logic, but yet not miss empathy for either side. Because mostly that is what we see across the world that happens. But yet there are these small bunch of voices across communities, across the world, who we resonate with. And we are sure that, through our small efforts, we can, look at the issue, as I'm constantly saying, through rationality, but with empathy as well. So amongst the multiple realities that this conflict has, which is a very, very complex conflict, there is theology in it, there is land involved, there is a history involved, there is brutality from both sides involved. So we want to first, play this video of volunteers in Israel who had gone to retrieve the dead bodies of civilians who were brutally killed by Hamas terrorists, and they speak about what they saw. And we'll play this video. 3 of us will see it and then give our perspectives on it. So let's see the first video.
We went in. The first house we saw was a couple, father and mother, sitting there on the knees on the floor. They were on the knees. Now they were head down, hands tied to the back. On the other side of the dining room was a 7-year-old boy and a girl, I would say about 6 years old, sitting just against the parents, hands tied to the back, same position. The bodies were tortured. While now, start to use imagination. Who was tortured before? Who saw if this was on purpose? If this was the children looking at the parents being tortured? the parent scene, and when I say tortured, I will say missing body pieces. An eye, just taken out an eye, one eye.
All right, so that was a very disturbing video. Zahack, sadly, there are people across the world, India included, a small section but significant, who call these acts resistance, who indulge in whataboutery. They justify by saying the same thing happens on the other side when, you know, sections of Israeli soldiers do that to civilians. And I mean, how on earth can anything like this be justified? Because if this is justified, then everything can be justified. But you see the Zach that Islamists and communists justify this across the world. Your reaction?
See, this is quite amazing, because when this has come out that the Hamas has killed the Israeli people, so initial reaction was the celebration. Hamas was doing this sajda shukra, the prostration to thank God. So Hamas did this, and everybody was celebrating it the first day. The second day, what happened? They started doing the disinformation campaign that no, Hamas didn't do this. Hamas cannot do this. Hamas cannot do this. This is not what Hamas does. This is not what comes under the framework of the resistance. So this was the second thing. And finally, the third thing, which is coming out now, is that this was all done. This was all staged to pass the blame on Hamas. So why? I mean, this kind of mindset, I mean, this is a very common mindset. In fact, if you remember when Pulwama attack took place, I was in Mecca at that time, and there were people who were celebrating that Pulwama attack. They were justifying the suicide bombing. And I was in Mecca, and I made a video right from Mecca stating that this is forbidden Islam. I'm right now in Mecca. Behind me, you can see Masjid al-Haram. And I can say with conviction that this is haram, this is forbidden in Islam. And there were people who were justifying it using Zakir Naik's fatwa that, Dr. Zakir Naik permitted it. But when, the police started, the army and the police, when they started doing action against the people who were involved in it, then they came up with another narrative that this was an inside job and Modi himself did it to get the votes or something like this. So this has been happening every time when the terrorist attack takes place. So this is really appalling that, the leftists and the communists and even the Islamists, they justify it. They do this whataboutery. They don't even say that, okay, we stand by the victims of the Hamas attack. They don't say that. They say Israel has been doing this for a long time. Israel has been doing this for 70 years, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. I ask them, even if you find Israel doing it, is it justified by Islam? No, Islam doesn't justify it. Then how can you say that you are the follower of Islam at the same time you justify these actions?
Amna, your reaction to this brutal killing of a civilian family, and I noticed a pattern, Amna, in Arfa Khanum Sherwani's, in Arfa Khanum Sherwani's program on Wire, the way they dehumanize civilian families like this who were sitting for a Saturday meal, they said they were settlers. So settler was the language used to dehumanize them. But I mean, I don't understand who on earth can justify something like this, what we saw in the video.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with the Zahack. There is a contradiction in their reaction even. First, they are not ready to accept that Hamas has done that. So that also shows that it means they are defensive towards the Hamas. Right. Now they would go say, no, Hamas doesn't represent Palestine. I agree with that. वो नहीं करता है उसको represent. But then why you are being defensive towards Hamas, right? Second, उनका है कि जो oppressed community है, उसकी language कई बार violent हो जाती है in retaliation. And forget about the communist का ये argument. I know they have been giving it for very long. But as a Muslim, I have not heard, growing up as a Muslim, कि अगर आप ऑप्रेस हो तो आपको राइचियस पाथ नहीं फॉलो करना है. एवरी पैगंबर, एवरी मैसेंजर जब अपना मैसेज लेकर आए थे, उनके ऊपर इतनी सारी चीजें, एट्रोसिटीज होती थी. नॉट वंस दे हैव उन्होंने अपना रास्ता जो था, जो अल्लाह ताला ने उनको बोला था, वो छोड़ दिया था. राइट। हमें बोला गया कि आप ऑप्रेस भी हो तब भी आपको अपनी राइचियसनेस फॉलो करनी है, इट्स नॉट द कंडीशनल। तो दीज मुस्लिम्स हु आर टेलिंग दैट वी आर मुस्लिम एंड हाउ दे आर जस्टिफाइंग इट, इट्स अ बियॉन्ड मी, इट्स नॉट अबाउट द रिलीजन। ये एक बहुत ही गंदा वाला विक्टिमहुड माइंडसेट भरा गया है, जहां इनके अंदर एक मोरल कंपास ही खो गया है कहीं पे, एज अ मुस्लिम एज अ ह्यूमन बोथ वे में। क्योंकि अगर आप पढ़ो तो आपको कमांडमेंट इन द सेंस जो हमें अबू बकर रजी अल्लाह ताला के टाइम पे जो उन्होंने फौज भेजी है, उसमें यहाँ तक कहा गया है कि हरे भरे पेड़ों को जो है आप मत नुकसान पहुंचाओ, ठीक है, औरतों को बच्चों को मत छुओ, स्पेशली नॉन कॉम्बिडेंट कॉम्पिटेंट जो पॉपुलेशन है उसको छूने का कहा ही नहीं गया है। वो आपके उसके अंदर आते हैं, आपको उनको सेफ गार्ड करना है। तो वेयर इज द लाइक मुस्लिम लॉजिक भी मुझे समझ में नहीं आती है। सेकेंड थिंग, और इसके अलावा एक चीज और मालूम पड़ता है, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द पीस लाना है और हमको शांति लानी है, तो हमेशा ऐसा दिखाया जाता है कि वो तो इसराइल के ऊपर डिपेंड कर रहा है। बट यहाँ पे आपकी नफरत शो होती है, आपके अंदर इतनी नफरत है कि एक छोटा इजरायली बच्चा भी आप उसको इस तरह से मार के जस्टिफाई कर सकते हो। तो आपके अंदर भी एक प्रॉब्लम है हेट्रेट का, चाहे वो यहूदी के लिए हो या जिस भी वजह से हो। तो पीस सिर्फ इसराइल को की तरफ से नहीं, आपके भी दिमाग में एक बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम है जो आपको क्रिएट करनी पड़ेगी, और हमास का जस्टिफिकेशन वो प्रॉब्लम्स को दिखाता है बेसिकली। तो दीज आर द सम पॉइंट्स व्हिच आई कैन थिंक ऑफ। एंड Khalid, I think you also keep giving me a very good analysis. So what do you think about this basically?
For me तो it's beyond belief that anybody, मतलब इसमें आइडियोलॉजी की भी बात नहीं आती, इसमें मजहब की भी बात नहीं आती। मतलब you're killing children on a dining table in front of their parents who are civilians, and later you're justifying that by Sharjil Usmani at that moment, the Islamists in India, not saying कि I support Palestine, but I don't support this. Even वो argument में समझ सकता हूँ, but you're just saying free Palestine. You're just saying what about वो भी तो करते हैं। मतलब you just go like, where have you reached in your ideological derangement? This is beyond ideology, right? What does a 7-year-old know, right? So I don't know. मतलब how can you justify? And that gets me to our second video, right? This is about a young Palestinian child who speaks about the bombs falling in Gaza and speaks about how he saw his own nephew's head shoot off. We'll just see that.
انت شفت الضربة؟
والله انا قال لي سايقين بطول لابن اخوي الكور لهم صاروا قصفوها ابن اخوي ضرب الفسح.
كنت تلعب كورة؟
لا والله قلت الكورة لاخوي لابن اخوي الصغير من تحت السيارة. لا يوقع لا قلت له اياه.
قلت له الكورة؟
لا هو لسه بطبل لو بمسح السرور. فانا شلت ابن اخوي ودخلت جوا الدار، بعدين حملته وبديت حضر الناس جرينا. ووديته في كمان واحد اسمه صالح القرآن، راسه كله طلع، مخه طلع. فاحنا كبدنا المقعد، والله ما هي حياة ولا عيشة.
Now imagine how inhuman would it have to be if anybody were to belittle this boy's tragic details that he saw his own nephew's head pop off because of a bomb. Imagine we sitting here and justifying it. Imagine somebody putting up support Israel here. Imagine somebody indulging in whataboutery that don't his people do the same to Israel. Would we do that? No, nobody would do that, right? You would feel for this kid because he becomes then the victim of the state atrocities Israel does, right? So this is not even right, left, Islamist, nationalist, communist, whatever falana dhimka there is. Because what you would feel for those Israeli kids who are victims of Hamas terror, you would feel for this kid who's victim of, in reaction what the state of Israel does. So it's as simple and such a basic thing that you would feel for both these kids. It's beyond me that how anybody could justify what has happened to both these kids who are just on the two different sides of the line. Isn't that, Zahack, beyond the lines? Why would you justify anything happening to each of these kids, right?
No. Our approach should be that we have to stand with the civilians on both the sides, the Israeli civilians as well as the Palestinian civilians. Yes, we are against Hamas. It doesn't mean that we are against the Palestinian people. We are with the Palestinian people. In fact, the Indian government stands with the Palestinian people. Right after the attack, the MEA, gave the statement that we condemn the Hamas attack. At the same time, we stand with the sovereign Palestinian state. So the Indian government is very clear in this. But at the same time, when we say we stand with Israel, we have to also understand the atrocities done to the people of Palestine, like the video we have just seen. It's really disturbing to see that, the kind of trauma the child is going through. Just imagine. I mean, I have kids of the same age. Just imagine they're watching these scenes live. Watching their nephews popping off the brain out of the head. Just imagine what the trauma they are going through. So we cannot justify this as well, and there has to be ratio between the what you say retaliation and the revenge. There has to be some kind of justification. There has to be some kind of ratio. It's not like they have killed 1,400 and you just bomb and kill 10,000. It doesn't matter. When Joe Biden visited Israel recently, he said that we have taken justice for what happened to us on 9/11, but at the same time, he said that we made mistakes. Joe Biden accepted that America made mistakes. It happened. When you, as an upper hand with the military power, when you get into a land to take the revenge, then obviously there will be atrocities happening. And this is what's happening right now. This is very disturbing to see.
Amna, your thought of this young Palestinian boy who has nothing to do with this conflict and is, as young as 10 years old, and he's seen his nephew's head pop off. And now, in this case, the very Islamists will say, see, don't you feel for this kid? But we justify the Israeli side. On the other side, the extreme right-wingers will say, well, this kid, what can we do? Their entire community is radicalized, but we feel for the Israeli. But how simple is it just to be human to say we feel for both these kids?
Exactly. I was watching this video of what is his name? Homo sapiens ka jo writer hai.
Yuval Noah
Harari. So he said over a very, very profound thing that there are some atrocities which is not against any country or anyone. It's against the humanity. Because when you see it, you lose the faith in humanity. Like what we are capable of and how we react to certain situation. And when I see videos like this and reaction from the people which which has no sympathy even for a kid, so that's how I feel in that moment. This is attack against the humanity because आपका faith खत्म होता जा रहा है humanity. When you see this thing, even in 21st century, we are not being able to save our children. So, and mostly, I am someone who are not very tribalistic. I see all the human, I feel pain for all the human, and I can't think like these people. So when I see an Israeli child facing this kind of atrocity without any of his, I mean, child का तो कुछ वो करे भी ना, even they commit the crime, there are certain way to handle them because they are child, they are not capable to make a right decision. यहाँ तो कुछ किया ही नहीं है and they are facing this, I mean, I don't know how to put it, like barbaric kind of situation. So I just don't understand ki how these people sit on their couch and write about this incident, justify it without knowing iota about detail on the ground. You never know what kind of child was that. You never know the family. Maybe that Palestinian family are someone जो कि सबसे ज्यादा peace चाहते हैं. They are ready to do anything to bring the peace. But उनके हाथ में है क्या? कुछ नहीं है. Right? You don't know about them anything, and then you celebrate it or justify it. It's like a very, I don't know, somewhere you are losing your humanity. I think before talking about this political issue, you need to work on yourself as a human being. ये पहला इनका स्टेप होना चाहिए, सेकंड कुछ और सोचना चाहिए इनको. That's how I feel.
I had someone the other day in a very passionate argument tell me, but you have to choose a side. I said between a poor Israeli child getting killed by a terror group and a Palestinian child getting killed by, the state terror of Israel, why should I take a side? Matlab, who made these rules that you should take a side? I was like, if that means that we are these very few thousands in every country, then so be it. So be it.
Technically, I would like to add here one thing. So listen, there are so many time I take a side of Western civilization or Indian civilization because I believe they are superior in their values, right? The Hamas is a terrorist organization. You can't expect from them. You condemn them. You want to fight them. You want to finish them. But you have some expectation with a democratic nation like Israel. They cannot do the same what Hamas has done. In fact, Hamas wants that because that
Hmm.
cycle is what empowered them, right? So आप तो वही कर रहे हो. I don't find any justification the way Israel carpet bomb entire civilian place. 24 घंटे का वो दे करके warning. What kind of, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? 24 घंटे में इंसान अपना घर छोड़ के कहाँ भागेगा भाई? It just, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. And जो लोग justify करने की कोशिश करते हैं इसराइल को, they can have their values, but on a front of value system, even Israel is failing, in my
Yeah,
opinion. They're
Absolutely.
exactly
agree.
acting like a
Agree.
Hamas.
Agree. I
True,
think
true.
Sayyid Muzambil, who I have been hugely admiring, this fine rationalist voice from Pakistan, he said a very
Yeah.
good thing, you know. He said कि कल को मान लीजिए, you know, he was saying कि पाकिस्तान के, you know, soldiers को, he was speaking from his nationalistic viewpoint, कि तालिबान, you know, उनके सरों के साथ फुटबॉल खेले. He's like, I wouldn't expect my state to then do the same thing with them, you know. And that's where he called Israel rightly a bully state. You can't expect them to do the same what a terror group would do. Then you might as well pick off the charade and say, you know, no, they do the same, so we also do the same, right? Now coming to the third video, this is a video from you know Washington DC. It's from a very influential, famous building, Capitol's Cannon building, where some leftist Jews, you know, were indulging in a very noble protest where they were asking Joe Biden and Congress to push for a ceasefire in Gaza, right? And they obviously, like you can see, they are being arrested from there, but you can see the video, right? Now, this is a wonderful thing, isn't it, Zahack? And I could see a lot
Yes.
of people under that Twitter thread, Muslims, say, what wonderful human beings. But our Khalid Begs, our Zahack Tanveers, our Umar Ghazis, Amna Ansaris, when they say the same thing for our side, are traitors. These are fine human beings who are Jews because they are asking their side to step down. How ironical, Zahack, you know?
Yeah, yeah. This is strange to see. I mean, when the Jewish people, the leftist Jewish people, they come out and they say this, and when we talk the same narrative, irrespective of the religion, okay, they accuse us of betrayal and treachery, and you're against the ummah, and you are doing this and that. But when we see this, just because you align with the political spectrum of, you know, the leftist Jewish people, you praise them. This is not good at all.
Amna, ironic, right? I mean, of course, I
This
welcome these peace-loving people. Look at how they're telling their side to check their morality and, you know, stop this nonsense. But when we tell our side, they say you're not our side. Like, you're the Jews, right? And that too in a very negative slur, you're the Jews, right? But these are the good Jews. We are the bad Muslims.
Yeah, I do believe in that without going into generalization that so many problems in this world is because of Muslim are not thinking rationally. They are going into so much tribalistic mindset where they can't see, they can't think without black and white, right? और दिस इज नॉट न्यू, जो ज्यूस को भी हमने देखा. आई रिमेम्बर जब न्यूजीलैंड के अंदर मस्जिद के ऊपर अटैक हुआ था जहां मुस्लिम्स इनोसेंट मारे गए थे. रिमेम्बर द रिएक्शन, द वे इंटायर क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी जिनका कोई भी गलती नहीं था, द वे दे अपोलोजाइज्ड एंड प्रोटेस्ट किया उन्होंने, कितने सारे रैलीज निकाले. यू सी दैट एम्पैथी. यहाँ पे कितनी बार ऐसा होता है कि जब अटैक होता है ये एक्सट्रीमिस्ट का, इस्लामिस्ट जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट है मार देते हैं, एंड इफ यू वुड से कि आई फील अशेम्ड दैट एज अ मुस्लिम दे आर डूइंग दिस, टेकिंग माय रिलीजन नेम, तो उनको ये प्रॉब्लम है कि मैं ये बोल रही हूँ. देयर इज अ नो सिंपैथी, देयर इज अ नथिंग कम्स फ्रॉम द हर्ट ऑफ मुस्लिम फॉर द नॉन मुस्लिम्स. ये चीज एक बहुत बड़ी पहेली है और जब तक हम ये नहीं सुलझाएंगे हम, हमारे पास सोल्यूशन भी नहीं आएगा. वी हैव टू फील फॉर द अदर पेन एज वेल. वो वाली जो चीज है वो हमें कहीं ना कहीं लैक करती है एंड वी हैव टू वर्क ऑन इट. तो ये मैंने सब में देखा है. right? Even let's see, when we talk about mob lynching India में, so many Hindus are there जो condemn करते हैं, जो fight लड़ते हैं, in fact जो अपनी voice opinion लिखते हैं, right? बट हमारे साइड से हमेशा या तो एक्सक्यूज बनता है, हमने किया नहीं, या फिर हमने रिएक्शन में किया, दैट्स इट, या फिर हम क्या करें, साइलेंस, बट नो वॉइस द वे अदर कम्युनिटी रेजेस, एक सेक्शन भी नहीं उठता हमारी तरफ से, तो या देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम, ये लगता है मुझे।
जैक, आप कुछ कहना
नहीं,
चाहेंगे?
हम या मैं यही बोलना चाह रहा था कि हम चाहते हैं कि सब हमारी हम हमारी हमको सपोर्ट करें या सिर्फ हमारी वाह वाह हो, मगर हम दूसरों के दुख सुख में नहीं जाएंगे। सब हमारे दुख सुख में आए मगर हम किसी के दुख सुख में नहीं जाएंगे, तो ये तो मतलब नहीं चल सकता, दुनिया तो ऐसे नहीं चल सकती।
Exactly. That gets me to another video, which we saw a 6-year-old Palestinian boy, in US. He was stabbed by his fanatic landlord, and he said, "Ki all you Palestinians should die." 26 times he was stabbed. Now, this is another problem, right, Zahack? We see extreme sections of the right wing in US, Israel, India, which then end up being the absolute mirror images of the Islamists and communists, and where they lose all sympathy for Palestinians. And I even saw a popular right wing YouTube channel in a very, very pathetic way show the visuals of Gaza, which was completely flattened out, and saying we support it. That showed their cowardice as well, because on their own they don't have the guts to support the atrocities with their core religious identity people in Pakistan and Bangladesh. But here maybe they feel, okay, we're teaching Muslims a lesson. Now this 6-year-old Palestinian boy, Zahack, stabbed by his own landlord in US who used to play with him 26 times, because on extreme sections of right-wing channels he saw that all Palestinians are Hamas supporters, or they are there to kill. This is a problem from the other side as well, isn't it? I mean, then they end up into absolutely having zero sympathy for Muslims or rationalizing it.
We're seeing the repercussions of the rhetoric that our government has been spouting, and that a lot of media has been spouting regarding Palestinians, painting them as less than human. And so unfortunately this young boy has paid the ultimate.
No, this has happened even after 9/11. When 9/11 took place, a lot of even the Sikh community, they were targeted because they were mistaken as the Muslims. So unfortunately, after every incident, this happens, and we know that there are people who feel like we have been friends with you, we have been good with you, and I mean, we have been neighbors and for a long time, and they feel like if I don't, stop this, they try to do something in their own capacity, which we definitely we cannot justify this what this landlord has done, but you can understand the mindset which is going on in the West, especially when you show one section of the atrocity towards the other section without balancing it, then obviously this will lead to such kind of incidents. And I'm very, very sad that a 6-year-old boy was stabbed 26 times. And this is really appalling. This is very, very disturbing, to be honest.
Amna, this particular incident, again, a young Palestinian 6-year-old boy who staying in US wouldn't even know ki ye issue kya hai, and his landlord killed him because he saw so many extreme right-wing channels constantly telling him, see, Palestinians did that. That is a problem, because it's that thing, right? Like, both sides have very clearly marked out that the other side is evil, so everything goes. You can kill those Israeli children on the dining table and call it resistance. Sharjil Usmani sitting in Aligarh like a coward calling it resistance. And here, this brother of Sharjil Usmani doing the same to a Palestinian kid, right?
Yeah, I think this is more of like a tribalism, fight of tribalism rather than idea. And ट्राइबलिज्म में भी, और उन्होंने एक आइडिया को एक सिर्फ आइडेंटिटी से अटैच कर दिया कि ये आइडेंटिटी है तो दे आर थिंकिंग इन अ सर्टेन वे एंड दे शुड बी पनिश, और दे आर एनिमी और थ्रेट. व्हेन यू स्टार्ट सीइंग समवन एज अ थ्रेट, तो आप 6 साल के बच्चे को एक बच्चा नहीं देख पाते हो. दिस इज द ह्यूमन साइकोलॉजी थिंग, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई थिंक the time has come in this era of information where it's very easy to access any information, to be very proportionate. Whenever you hear something, whenever there is any incident, anything, just be calm down, think rationally, don't be charged up emotionally. And verify करने में भी time लगता है. तो I many a time I see that people react very emotionally, and अपने खुद का जो आपका खुद को अल्लाह ताला ने आपको खुद मुख्तार बनाया है, आपके अंदर एक सोचने समझने की ताकत है, वो बिल्कुल ही ताक पे रख देते हैं. तो that is something we have to train ourselves more and more to be instead of reactive, we have to think how to tackle the issue. हम भूलते जा रहे हैं कि इश्यू हमें टैकल करने होते हैं. हमें लगता है कि हम रिएक्ट कर देंगे बस यही, बिकॉज वी आर नॉट सीइंग प्रॉब्लम एज अ प्रॉब्लम which belongs to all the human and we have to solve it. We are seeing the problem that ये other लोगों का problem है, इन other लोग को खत्म कर दो तो problem खत्म हो जाएगा. It's not going to happen, because first of all, even if you see that problem belongs to Muslim community, it's the second largest community on this planet Earth. ठीक है, they are not homogeneous, there are different kind of Muslim you will find in Dubai. आपको दूसरे तरह के मुस्लिम मिलेंगे, इंडोनेशिया में आपको, there are so many things going on, you are connected with them. तो एक इशू है, हर कम्युनिटी की होती है, वो हमें सॉल्व करनी है. बट इंस्टेड ऑफ इट सेग्रीगेशन, अदरिंग और पूरी आइडेंटिटी को ही एक पूरी प्रॉब्लम बना देना, दैट्स अनदर काइंड ऑफ आई थिंक वेरी डेंजरस सिचुएशन जो धीरे धीरे बढ़ता जा रहा है. एवरी डे इट्स गेटिंग, मतलब वो ज्यादा से ज्यादा होता जा रहा है. एंड पीपल लाइक अस, वी हैव टू फाइट ऑन बोथ फ्रंट.
No, we have to be vocal enough. The people like Khalid and Amana, and what I'm trying to do in my humble capacity. I mean, we have to be open enough. We have to be vocal. We have to be outspoken in relaying this message that all Muslims are not saying what you see. Recently someone tweeted on, someone actually posted on X that I used to think. I mean, he's the Westerner. He said that I used to think all Muslims are same. They're all extremists and Islamists. Then later, after following you, I have realized that there is a difference between the difference of chalk and cheese between the Muslim as an Islamist. So a lot of people, they don't understand this difference. They think that all Muslims are Islamists. They want to have power. They want to uproot us. They want to kill us. They want to get away with us. So this is what they think. When the people like you and me come forward and we say, this is not the case. We are not here to kill you. We're not here to justify this. And I'm very happy that we have been at the front to reject this idea of Hamas. When the attacks happened, we were the first people who came forward. I mean, even my Emirati friend Louis Al Sharif and the Bahraini friend, Emirati and Bahraini friend Amjad Taha. I mean, we have come forward, and a lot of people like me have come forward, and you have come forward to reject this idea of Hamas extremism. And we have said this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. I mean, at least this gives the consoling effect to the people, the Jewish people. And I'm very happy that some of my Jewish friends, like Rabbi Popko, he messaged me and he said that we are happy to have Muslims like you. So imagine if even we keep, Mom, we keep silent and we don't talk about this, then obviously they will be feeling betrayed. They feel like, I mean, if this has happened to us, this can happen to you as well. And how can you expect us to stand with you when this happens to you? So we have to keep balance, and we have to be honest. We have to be sincere. We have to speak for any kind of atrocity against any religion or any community.
That gets me to the next video, Zach and Amna. What's happening in the colleges of New York? Here is, these students in a college. There is a, I guess a bus moving with these pictures of kids. One of them is age 4, one of them is age 5. And these two Muslim ladies are flashing in front of them, having a smile, where, it's an appeal being made that, release these kids. Now, what kind of poison would you have in your mind? I can even go to the extent, give them the benefit that maybe whoever they are, Palestinians, or if they're not, whoever they are, or they borrowed that victimhood, that if this was even the image of Israeli defense forces, it's the state, and then they have, they feel nothing, understandable to some extent, because it's the enemy at the end of the day, right? It's not a civilian. Kids, they're clicking pictures, enjoying the fact that these Israeli families have put up their pictures, that they are still hostage, we don't know where they are, and they're smiling. And this will go so unnoticed in the Muslim world, right? Like, nobody would say, I feel ashamed. So this is some incredibly crazy, toxic mindset, Zach.
I actually, to be honest, I don't blame these two girls. Yeah, I agree that they're grown-ups and they have to use their analogy. They have to gather the wits and understand what's happening around the world. But to be honest, this is what they have learned in the universities and colleges. Unfortunately, most of the universities in the West, they are infected with the leftist and the woke idea. And the wokes and the leftists, they hate Jewish people like anything. I mean, and for a long time, the West has been, the host of the anti-Semitism. The anti-Semitism actually emerged from the West. If you look back at the history of Israel and Palestine, you would see that the battles have always taken place between the Jewish people and the Christians. The Muslims were nowhere in the picture. And when Jewish people were persecuted, when they were killed, and when they were burned alive, these Jews, they used to come to the Muslim lands and they used to take refuge. In fact, when I went to New York, to the oldest synagogue in New York, the rabbi, he showed me the pictures of the Jewish people who used to work in the Muslim empires, like in administration, in medicine, in different fields. So the Jewish people, they would find Muslim lands to be the safe haven to go and live there. But unfortunately, after this, Holocaust and the Ottomans, they lost power in Palestine, and when the British mandate of Palestine was in the line, so the Ottoman Mufti Amin Hussein, I think, he met with Hitler, and from there, a lot of anti-Semitism came into the Muslims. And unfortunately, today we see that I can say 95% of Muslims are anti-Semitic. I'm not trying to generalize them, to be honest. I don't say they're anti-Semitic purposefully. I mean, they're uneducated. We need to educate them. And I'm sure that a lot of people, they are passive, they understand, they listen to you, and they agree with you. So in this case, what you're talking about, these two female students, in New York, marking the kidnapping, I believe if they are educated, I'm sure they'll definitely gonna regret of what they have done.
Amna, again, here in this case, it's beyond me. This is not even left, right, Israel, Palestine, India, falana dhamka. What is, I mean, this is beyond, this is bizarre.
I'm saying. I can't even explain, because this mindset, I don't know people around me who have this kind of mindset. Yeah, ये issue इतना कभी रहा नहीं. I also have written an article that कि as a Pashmanda Muslim, mostly what happened कि like in my home, it's not कि वो बात नहीं होती थी कि फिलिस्तीन के लोग हैं. फिलिस्तीन के लोग बहुत ही मजबूर हैं, बहुत इनके साथ बुरा हो रहा है, तो we should pray for them. That's what I have heard. मजलूम हैं और ये सारी चीजें, but बहुत pressing issue नहीं था. सो ये जो एंटीसेमिटाइज्म का जो होता है ना, ज्यूज के लिए बहुत हेट्रेड, एंड जब वो आपके घर से ही अगर आपको भरा जाए तो वो बहुत मजबूत भी हो जाता है. बट फॉर्चुनेटली आई वाज नॉट द पार्ट ऑफ सच अ ट्राइब, क्योंकि हमारे बहुत सारे अलग इशू थे. वी हैव टू डील विद सो मेनी अदर थिंग्स. एंड ऑल्सो अगर कोई इशू है भी तो लाइक इंडिया में ज्यूज है नहीं इतने, we have to deal with the different communities. Hindu community hai, Christian community hai, Sikh hai. So how we will coexist with them were the more pressing issue. So I'm very fortunate in that sense कि मेरे अंदर कभी वो ज्यूस को लेके हेटरेट सिखाया नहीं गया. So I don't understand कि how these girls, I mean, कैसे आता है इनके दिमाग में ये चीजें, नफरत करना इतना ज्यादा. I think Zahack explained it very well. Also, the thing is that once I have posted also about कि जब हिटलर इनको प्रोसिक्यूट कर रहा था पूरे यूरोप के अंदर, पोलैंड में और हर जगह, तो अल्बानिया, द वन मुस्लिम कंट्री, वहां पे जाके इन लोगों ने शरण ली थी. एंड अल्बानियन मुस्लिम ने उनको अपनी जान पे भी खेल के बचाया था. मतलब दे हैड दिस ओथ लिया था इन्होंने कि अगर हमारी जान भी चली जाएगी तब भी हम इनको शरण देंगे. दैट काइंड ऑफ प्रोटेक्शन मुस्लिम ने प्रोवाइड की थी. सो आई डोंट नो व्हाट वेंट रॉन्ग इन हिस्ट्री. आई थिंक आई नीड टू रीड मोर. आई थिंक Zahack explained
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. True.
We have another very disturbing video, Zahack and Amna, this Jewish synagogue which was burned down in Tunisia. Now that hurt me even more. I mean, that would have hurt me irrespective, but Tunisia is one of the most progressive, liberal, moderate Muslim majority nations. Again, Zahack, no Muslim rallies for feeling sad or ashamed or, reaching out, because if the other communities would have done it, you see a small significant voices always saying that we should have not done this to Muslims for the Babi Masjid, or, any other thing happens. But as if this did not happen, and one Jew even wrote that, this is the reason why, the few remaining Jewish families went to Israel, and his grandmother, that was one of the reasons. Now, this went completely unnoticed, Zahack. The Muslim countries did not cover this. There was no feeling of guilt. There was no, chest beating or saying we feel very sad about it.
Yeah, I mentioned about this. There has been very negligible amount of people amongst the Muslims who have really understood this concept. If this has happened in Tunisia, which is a Muslim country, we expect that at least the Tunisian government comes forward and say that, what has happened is absolutely wrong and it should be condemned. But when a Muslim masjid is burned, or if it faces the same thing which this Jewish synagogue has faced, then obviously there will be international condemnation, and there will be something called Islamophobia, and people will be talking about Islamophobia. If this has happened in India or in Israel, then that will definitely gain the international attention. But this has happened in Tunisia, the Jewish synagogue, and the Jewish people are the strongest people in the world. They have a state, they have a global lobby. Despite that, nobody is actually caring about this segment. So this is something which I believe the Muslims have to rethink. They have to relearn their religion.
Yeah.
Amna, your
This
perspective
also
on
bring me this. It's something I try to understand. It's a tribalism beyond the boundaries or something. क्योंकि ये देखा है कि जैसे इंडिया में भी जब हुआ था इशू, तो उधर से जाकर के, मतलब उनको तो एक्सक्यूज चाहिए बांग्लादेश और पाकिस्तान में हिंदुओं के साइड को अटैक करने का, बट दे डू इट. बट वन थिंग आई वुड प्रेज यूएई, वहां पर भी इस तरह की कोशिश हुई थी, बिकॉज दैट टाइम आई रिमेम्बर माई मॉम और डैड यूज्ड टू लिव देयर, एंड गवर्नमेंट सेड नो, वी आर नेशन, एंड हमारे नेशन के अंदर जितने भी लोग हैं देयर इन आवर प्रोटेक्शन, हम ये अलाउ यहाँ नहीं करेंगे. यहाँ ना कोई इस बेस पे राइट्स होंगे और ना कोई रिएक्शन और एक्शन होगा. तो ये जो यूएई गवर्नमेंट है वहां पे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर काफी अच्छा है, एंड दे डोंट ट्रीट देयर, मतलब रेजिडेंट सिटीजन तो नहीं सारे होते, बेस्ड ऑन कि किसी दूसरे कंट्री में क्या हुआ है उसका रिएक्शन आप यहाँ पे कर सकते हो, विच आई थिंक एवरी नेशन शुड लर्न. कि आपके यहाँ जो लोग हैं वो आपके प्रोटेक्शन में हैं, उनको प्रोटेक्ट करना आपकी पहली फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. regardless their religious identity, I will praise them. तो ये एक issue है tribalistic mindset का, very unfortunate from Tunisia it's coming. होने से ज्यादा unfortunate ये है कि state की तरफ से कोई क्यों नहीं वो आया है, मतलब कोई रिएक्शन नहीं आया है. एंड आई लिसन अ लॉट ऑफ क्रिटिसिज्म also that even a lot of time you will find that Muslim majority become a very secular in their outlook and thought process. Still tribalism remain there. Still when comes to the people who are not Muslim, their जो होता है ना एक उनके साथ डिफरेंट बिहेवियर करना वो वहां पे रहता है. तो आई थिंक वी नीड टू ड्वेल मोर इनटू इट. ये उसी का मतलब एक वो है, मैनिफेस्टेशन है बेसिकली.
Right.